All right, so welcome to the breakdown. This is a decoding channel. All right, and we have NBA playoffs. And it appears that we're down to 4 teams as I look at the brackets, but they didn't necessarily focus on what happened in this game. You see the story here. Fire alarm causes brief evacuation after the Knicks game 2 win over the Celtics, right? They're saying a fire alarm was triggered, and this was in TD Garden in Boston. And you see the Knicks pulled off a 1 point victory, 91-90. This is game 2 as they go up 2-0 in the series. This was Wednesday night. This fire alarm causing a brief evacuation. TD Garden officials released a statement late Wednesday saying that an alarm was tripped and that no one was injured. The cause of the alarm is under investigation. The statement said alarms began blaring while New York's Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart were still at the podium concluding a post-game interview. Boston's Jaylen Brown had just completed his interview session in a separate room when officials directed members of the media towards the exit. Due to the evacuation, Jason Tatum's planned interview session was canceled. And I mentioned New York leads the series 2-0. So, when you see the players do their interviews after the game and they'll have a couple players up at that desk or whatever, that's kind of the scene here. All right, and then you have this fire alarm that was triggered. I'm not here, I don't want to be the one here saying everything's fake, but it exposes this language, okay, and it exposes this code. We've learned that there's numerical values attached to these letters, right? And then we get certain patterns. We'll see other stories trending at the same time. We'll be like, that's interesting, right? So anyways, that's what I do over on this channel, okay? So if you tuned in because you're all into sports and you want to know what happened and give me the scoop, that's not necessarily what I do on this channel. So I just want to put that energy out there, even though I'll let you know what the article says, you know what I'm saying? But not really a sports channel. I cover all stories over here. So we're going to quickly look at the brackets. I feel like that's, we can do that. Let's see if it'll let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so you see a 2-0 lead for the Knicks over the Celtics down here on the bottom right. And game 3 will be Saturday. You see the Pacers are also up by 2 games over Cleveland. So these game 3s are very critical. And the Pacers and Cleveland, Pacers got the 2-0 lead. Not sure when that game will be. I don't know why they don't. Oh, there it is, Friday. So that game will be tomorrow. And then over in the West, you have the Thunder and Nuggets tied up at 1. And then you have the T-Wolves and Warriors tied up at 1. Man, these games go by quick, don't they? So with that being said, again, we have game 3 on Saturday. We're going to focus on Josh Hart in this breakdown because he led all scorers with 23 points. As we go over here, I'm going to use Canva to show you these slides. And we may catch some things on the fly as well. And I might have accidentally showed some of this breakdown in another slide that may drop before this one. I may have got my breakdowns mixed up, but that's okay because I didn't share too much. Look at this right here. Right away, this is the first thing that pops up when I'm doing the breakdown and I'm glancing over the article. Okay, because this is an evacuation, and this is New York versus Boston. In Boston, right? So look, this is just the language. You have evacuation and New York here, and it's the same ciphers. And there's only 4 ciphers I use with the language. Look at that. Evacuation and New York, 111 and 39. That's ordinal and reduction. And that's just amazing, isn't it? Because when you think evacuation and you think New York, who could forget that situation in 2011, right? You have these 2 buildings, you have these 2 uh aircraft carriers, you have these 2 things that fly in the air, right? They go into these 2 structures. You see that? And that's kind of like the top thing when you think of New York and you think of huge stories over the years, isn't it? That's why when you get a New York Knicks story, anything with New York and anything with like a fire or evacuation, that's the first thing that pops up right there. Okay, and I'm going to show you how that further connects. But look at that. Evacuation and New York 111 and 39, and you have the Knicks versus Boston here, and you have a fire alarm causing a brief evacuation after Knicks game 2. Ooh, think about it. Those are 2 buildings, aren't they? And this is game 2. Okay, and I want you to remember that New York picked up this victory 91 to 90. Okay? Remember that day back in 2001 right there? We will never forget, right? It's kind of like the motto, the slogan, whatever you want to say. That was that was the 9th month, right? And it was the 11th day of that month. And the Knicks scored 91 points in this game. You see that right there? And again, game 2, even though there were 3 structures that fell, they really talked about the 2, right? So look how that hits. Okay? And now look, I'm going to show you how this further. Oh, and you know what? That day, that September day, the 11th month, that day left 111 days in the year. And there's a lot of 11s with New York, because remember, New York is the 11th state as well. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of 11s connected with the state. I know they have like a interstate, or I think it's an interstate 110 that goes north and south through New York, 110. You get 11s there as well. And not to mention, 111 is like the 11th day of September also. So you see how that lands as well. But look when we go down here. Remember, the Knicks scored 91, and that day in history was the 9th month and the 11th day. So look how that hits. Even Fire Alarm. Look at how Fire Alarm has 61 and New York Knicks has 61. This is just in the language. So you see that 6 is kind of like a 9, right? And you see the Knicks scored 91. So let's just say you flip those 2 sixes, and it's kind of like 91 and 91 with Fire Alarm and New York Knicks. That's the amazing thing with that number 6, right? Even Fire Alarm and reverse reduction, look at that. You get 160, kind of scratch that 0, and look, you're left with that 1 and that 6 again. Okay? You could even look at Fire Alarm in the language. 160. Look at evacuation equals 60. Okay, you follow me? Notice evacuation, and that's in the reverse cipher. Z would be 1, A would be 26, okay? Look at evacuation 159. Boston Celtics in that same cipher 195. So the 5 and the 9 are flipped. And Boston Celtics equaling 195. Look at Knicks equals 95. So you kind of get the same thing with that 160, 60, 195, 95. Isn't that's cool, right? So you see these sixes, and again, you flip them over, and they're like nines. But check this out, because remember, Boston Celtics 195, Knicks 95. Josh Hart is born in 95. You see that right there? And he has 23 points to lead all players here. That's why I'm focusing on him. And wait until you see these connections. Now, notice I missed this, and I'm just kind of catching it right now. Notice his birthday. So you see how he's born in 95, Boston Celtics 195. Better than that, he plays for the Knicks, and Knicks equals 95. He's born in 95. But look at his stats down here at the bottom. I pieced it in there. Look, 3 assists, 6 rebounds, and his birthday is the 3rd month and the 6th day. You see that? And I mean, I have to go ahead and tell you, he's got the 3 on the jersey right there. 3 assists, born in the 3rd month. Okay? And they tell you right there, alarms began blaring while Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart were still on the podium. Look, you see him right there? Fire alarm going off. Even game 2 equals 19. So remember, those were 2 buildings with that event in New York, right? Like the most famous, I mean famous, not taking it lightly, but the most memorable day almost in history, just you, right, as far as like the news, and everyone kind of remembers where they were. I'm a little bit older, so 2001, I was what, around 20 years old roughly. But notice how game 2 kind of like twins, right? Think about it. Game 2 equals 19, and we go back here, the Knicks score 91. Okay, and again, that's like 911. And speaking of 911, that's kind of like emergency, kind of like fire alarm, right? So the 91s, remember the 61s, that's glitching like a biatch right there, man. But remember, you flip those sixes and it's kind of like a 9-1. Okay, don't forget that. But then game 2 equals 19. Remember, chaos equals 19 also in this code, okay? Chaos equals 19. This is kind of a chaotic moment. And I mentioned Josh Hart's birthday, 3/6, March 6th. Josh Hart equals 36. Alarm equals 36. And with the 3 on his jersey and him being born in the 3rd month, the Knicks went into the playoffs 3rd into the Eastern Conference. He also had 3 threes. And I mentioned the 3 assists earlier, I think. But look, New York equals 33. So he's the main figure here, and his name syncs up with his birthday. And his name and his birthday syncs up with alarm, and his name and alarm sync up in 2 out of these 4 base ciphers, 36 and 45. Check that out. And 3 plus 6 is 9, 4 plus 5 is 9, 3 times 3 is 9. And don't forget that 3 on the jersey. And the Knicks going into the playoffs, ranked third. This slide probably hits more than any slide here. Just look at this. Okay? And of course, there's more. Check that out. His last birthday left 300 days in the year. And notice how his birthday is the 65th day of the year. Right there. So the day after this game, which is today, this is trending on the 66th day of the year. You see that? Today this is trending on the 66th day of the year. How about that? And then what certain years, you're going to have the 66th day of the year on his birthday, right? So check that out right there. Isn't that amazing? Trending on the 66. So you get all of these threes and all of these sixes that sync up with his birthday, his name in the language, right? It's just, and there's probably something to 3 6s as well, right? There's probably something to 666. We are a few days past 5/5, May 5th, and Satan equals 55, just to put that out there, okay? Even alarm equals 90. In the reverse cipher, Boston loses the game as they score 90 points. Look at that. And if you don't think this is amazing and undeniable, maybe you will after this. A 9-week 0-day span. You see that? I left the 0 in there. From Josh Hart's birthday to this game, May 7th, from start to end. Look at that. 9 weeks, 0 days, which is 90. And again, his opponent and the Knicks' opponent, the Celtics, lose with 90 points. An alarm goes off. Alarm equals 90. And you see that's in the reverse cipher. How amazing is that? And don't forget his birthday, 3 plus 6 is 9. Completely amazing. And we just went over 4 plus 5 is 9, didn't we? 3 plus 6, 3 times 3 is 9. So that kind of exposes the 369 thing a little bit. And then what is it? Leap years? Am I saying that right? Where we have an extra day. His birthday would be the 66th day of the year. It's been a long day, but I think I got that right. But yeah, those years where you have an extra. But anyways, it's trending the day at I may have said it wrong a minute ago. I got his birthday. I said it wrong a minute ago. But I was thinking that was the game. But the day after his birthday is the 66th day of the year, this last birthday. We'll just go with that. And again, you flip that 6 over and you get that 9 again, right? So, and these are all facts, by the way. These are all facts. And something else with the 3 real quick. Don't forget, Jason Tatum is Mr. 33. And the Celtics, they go down by 1 point here. Don't forget, the Celtics they're known for Larry Bird in history, number 33. And don't forget, Bird equals 33, right? In the code. And 30, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But Jason Tatum's birthday is 3/3, 33. And yes, that is how you spell Jason. But look at his birthday, 3/3. And look when we go to the calculator real quick. Where did the calculator go? Here it is right here. His name is Jayson. Look at this. Jayson. Look at that, 33. Tatum, when you spell it right, Tatum's got 33. Notice how Tatum's got 60 like 6. And what was it back here? Evacuation equals 60 like Tatum. Check that out. But remember that 60 is like 6 and Josh Hart born on the 6th, right? And we're not done with Tatum since we're over here. So Jason and Tatum both got the 33. His middle name, Christopher's got 33. Christopher. Oh, wait, I'm wrong. I thought Christopher had 33. Am I spelling it right? Am I spelling it? Oh, okay, I was wrong about that. I'm going to copy and paste it just to be safe. I think I got it right. Oh, I think it might be his full name. Let's put his full name. Tatum, and it doesn't have to hit, but I thought it did. Let's see. No, I'm wrong about that. You almost get 300 though. I must be remembering. I must be thinking about something else. But no, but look how check this out. Look how Christopher equals 59 with Tatum's middle name. Don't forget evacuation 159, Knicks equals 95, the 59 reversed, and don't forget Boston Celtics 195. So take that, right? And let me show you Bird over here. We know that the Celtics are known for Bird, Larry Bird. Look at how Bird equals 33 and 30. And Larry Bird wore the 33. Okay, so we're moving along. All of these points need to be brought up. All right. So let me get back to where I was here. And I try to make these around 20 minutes. Sometimes they go a few minutes over because there's mega connections. And don't forget Josh Hart, born in 95. Look at his middle name, Aaron. Joshua Aaron Hart. Aaron is kind of like alarm. That may be a little bit of a stretch. Aaron like alarm. And don't forget, he's got that 3 on his jersey. And there's probably something like I mentioned earlier with the 3-6-6-6-6 thing. There may be something to that as well, kind of connecting to alarm and evacuation, danger, 911 and such. But Aaron, kind of like alarm, right? And you kind of see the scene here. He's got the Mike and Ike's right there. I don't know about you. I like the tropical. And just kind of like a final connection here. Even Boston syncs up with Knicks in the reduction cipher 22. And basketball also equals 22. The National Basketball Association equals 202 like 22. And remember, this was game 2. And we had that connection with those 2 buildings. Remember that? And if you look over to the top right here, you see even Boston Celtics has the 78 like New York. All right? So that's kind of the breakdown. It may seem slightly confusing, but if you watch just a few of these videos, it's really not, okay? And this is everything I entered. Even Jason Tatum equals 66. So you get the 33 and 66. And remember, Josh Hart, his birthday is 3-6. Even Josh Hart equals 99 in the language. Right there. And remember, there's kind of a 3-6-9 theme going on in this breakdown. All right. So I like to just go to the end here and ooh, look at this. Notice how Boston Celtics in the ABC 123 cipher 156, the 156th prime number is 911. That's a huge connection right there because they lost and the Knicks scored 91. Obviously, we had that 911 connection. I don't think I had it in the slides unless I missed it. But look, 911 is the 156th prime number. You see that? That's that's big there. And you see Boston Celtics 156. That's a huge connection that I almost missed there. So yeah, I just kind of like to scan here, and I think we covered the major things here. Even his last birthday had 50. Look at his last birthday, 54 date numerology and 18. That's Josh Hart. 5 plus 4, 9. 1 plus 8, 9. And remember, a 9-week span exactly from his birthday to this game. Ooh, notice how 9 weeks is the same as 2 months, 2 days. If you look up in the top right here. Wow, right? And it's the same as 63 days. 6 plus 3 is 9. But that 2-2 connection that we had with game 2 in those two buildings, Boston basketball and Knicks, all 22. Ah. Okay, so nice. I'm guessing we went over 20 minutes easily here. So yeah. That's that, right? That's that. And let's go. We might as well just take another minute here. So if we're talking his birthday, March 6th, say in 2020, you see, then that would be the 66th day of the year, right? With I don't know if I'm saying it right. Leap year's got the extra day, right? Leap year, extra day in the year. It's been a long day. Yeah, there it is. Right? So a leap year. Okay, so a leap year. I think I'm seeing that correctly. So yeah, so if we're talking 2020, his birthday is the 66th day of the year. But I guess, right, 2025, I guess 65 right there. Cool. All right. So I again, I appreciate being able to do this. It's almost like I'm making this for one or two people. I mean, I'm doing this for my hobby. This is my hobby. And it's a great hobby because this exposes the language. It exposes this code. Okay. And it kind of exposes these stories, and it makes you question not just the language, it makes you question, like, is this stuff a script, right? And wow, Josh Hart played 43 minutes. There may be something else with his name Hart as well. And if you go through these other characters, Jaylen Brown, uh, Brunson, we went over Tatum a little bit, you would find other connections, but I want to center this on the leading scorer for both teams. Uh, with that being said, let's look at the game is on Saturday, game 3. But let's look at the Celtics box score real quick. Jaylen Brown and Derek White both had 20 points. Drew Holiday 10. Tatum only had 13. All right. Just to show you that. Karl Anthony Towns had 21 points. Jalen Brunson had 17. Mikal Bridges 14. All right. So I think that's a solid breakdown, and we made a lot of connections there. We didn't make them. We showed them. And again, it's kind of like a gift and a curse. On my end here. So a close game, a 1-point playoff victory. The Knicks up 2-0. Game 3 is going to be huge on Saturday. Fire alarm causes brief evacuation after the Knicks game 2 win over the Celtics. And I am not perfect. Mistakes will be made. Okay, just to put that out there. But anybody, if they catch any mistakes, just let me know. Appreciate being able to do this. Again, until next time.